Tinubu has directed the creation of a portal aimed at reducing the number of government-sponsored delegates attending the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP29, set to take place in Azerbaijan from the 11th to 22nd of November. Special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajirin Gelale, made the announcement on Tuesday during a briefing at the State House. Mr. Gelale explains that the new portal is expected to save Nigeria over 10 billion naira during the 11-day event by ensuring that only delegates with direct involvement in climate-related activities are sponsored by the government. Mr. Gelale, who also serves as Special Envoy on Climate Action, reveals that the portal will be developed in collaboration with the National Council on Climate Change, led by Director General Nkiruka Madekwe.
The National Council on Climate Change, in collaboration with my office, has established the Climate Accountability and Transparency Portal, which will, among other things, ensure that all members of delegation across ministries, departments, and agencies, and including even the legislative branch of government, will be captured on a transparent portal. This will mean that Nigerians will have full and real-time access into the numbers of who is attending and those who government is sponsoring to COP29. This will also ensure that anyone who is attending this conference has an economic imperative to be at that conference, engaging with companies, multilateral partners and stakeholders who will attract finance and opportunity into the country for the benefit of our people.
From that, the Nigeria Labour Congress has requested an extension of time for its president, Joe Ajaero, to honor the police invitation over allegation of terrorism financing. In a letter by solicitors to the NLC signed by Samuel Ogala, they said Joe Ajaero is unable to honor today's invitation as he has an engagement that had been fixed before the invitation letter. The letter also stated that Mr. Ajaero is prepared to attend the interview on Wednesday, 29th of August. The NLC president is also requesting to know details and the nature of the allegations of criminal conspiracy, terrorism financing, treasonable felony, subversion, and cybercrime leveled against him. And the members of the union earlier today gathered at the union's headquarters in Abuja as a show of solidarity for the NLC president.
Given the police powers under the Police Act and the Constitution, the invitation is not out of place. The police has that power to invite anybody in respect of any matter being investigated by the police. And from the context of the letter and the fact that the allegations stated there in the crimes being investigated are serious crimes, which ordinarily the police are entitled to arrest a suspect or a defender. Now, having not arrested or made an attempt to arrest him by extending an invitation, I think the police is civil enough. However, given the time frame between the time the letter was delivered to him and the time was to appear, I think it was too short a period. So I think that's the only area where I think is asking for extension is justified.
A senior advocate of Nigeria and former Attorney General of Kwara State, Sam Dawondo, there commending the Nigeria police for being civil in their request, inviting President of the NLC, Joe Ajaero, over some allegations. Now, for more updates on this developing story, General Secretary of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Emma Gwaja, joins me on the news at 7. Mr. Gwaja, your colleagues held an emergency meeting and they equally gathered earlier today in solidarity with Joe Ajaero over his invitation by the police. Why do all of this when Mr. Ajaero is a Nigerian citizen and presumed innocent until proven otherwise?
The truth of the matter is that you need to follow the genesis of this. The Nigerian police is ridiculing our criminal justice system. We can't begin to criminalize straightforward issues. and then tagging very high criminal charges on them is clearly ridiculous. It's clearly unimaginative. For Nigerian police, which started by denying they didn't know where Labour House was, for Nigerian police, which started by denying they never came to the 10th floor of Nigerian Labour Congress headquarters where the NLC president and myself have our administrative offices. For the Nigerian police, which kept denying that they were not after NLC, when we knew from the word go that we have been the subject of brutal attacks and manipulations from the Nigerian police.
But Mr. Gwaja, yes, if I may butt in,
yes.
Don't you think then it's only ideal for Mr. Jero to make himself available and answer to the questions he's been asked?
Mr. Jero is not on the run. There's nothing like making himself available. He's not on the run. Mr. Jero will make himself available. The Nigerian police will not deny, and then at midnight they send out notices that they want Ajero the next day. Mr. Ajero is an international figure. He's not a security risk. He's not a flight risk. He's not going anywhere. We are Nigerians. We're not running away from these people.
Mr. Ajero has requested
way to pursue for our members. They can't scare us. They can't scare us. Ajero will keep appointment with them. There is nothing to hide. So there is nothing about keeping appointment with anybody.
I hear you.
He will meet with them. He's a citizen. He has things he's doing.
I hear you, Mr. Ugwaja.
We have work to do. We have work to do.
I hear you. And Mr. Ajero has actually requested.
And tell him to meet you at 10 o'clock. You don't start pasting notices in the internet by 10 p.m. and then tell the person to see you by 10 a.m. We don't work for the Nigerian police.
Well, Mr. Ajero has now requested Mr. Gwaja, to appear on 29th
He will meet
August.
with them on the 29th.
So are you vouching, Mr. Gwaja?
Mr. Gwaja, so it's not about when he will see them. He will see them. He will see them.
It's important also to put time into consideration. It's important to put, that into consideration. We're extending the date then by, 8 days. Can you vouch for Mr. Ajero that he would actually appear and answer to the questions?
Where is Mr. Ajero going? Vouch for what? Can the police vouch for themselves? People that kept denying, can they vouch for themselves? Mr. Ajero is a Nigerian citizen. He is president of Nigerian Labour Congress. The premises they denied coming to. Then you want an innocent citizen to be vouching for what?
As we wrap this up
at the appropriate time.
All right. As we wrap this up, I wanted to also ask what procedures the NLC follows, in bringing, in leasing out your facility, there to tenants to ensure that you do not harbor enemies of the state within your building.
We are not harboring any enemy of the state. We are not harboring any enemy of the state. The Nigerian Labour Congress is the trade union labor center #1. Nobody is an enemy of the state. Rather, the police are the ones acting as enemies of the state. People who can't stick to one story are the ones acting as enemies of the state. People who trivialize treason, trivialize terrorism, international crimes are the enemies of the state. So don't talk about harboring. You don't draw conclusions of what you don't know. So nobody is harboring anybody. If you are harboring terrorists in the TVC, we are not.
Mr. Gwaja, I would advise that you kindly, watch the words you speak on live television.
You watch what you say. You don't tell me.
Mr. Gwaja, kindly watch. Let's be civil.
Watch
the words you use on live television. I put a question to you, and you should simply respond to the question because I am the one asking the question. General Secretary of the NLC, Mr. Gwaja, thank you for talking to us on TVC News at 7. Away from that, the Attorney General of the Federation has told the justices of the Court of Appeal that an amicable settlement is being sought to resolve the issues raised by a former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoge. In the appeal he filed challenging his suspension by the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Tijani Ghazali, an acting director of civil litigation at the Ministry of Justice, who represented the AGF, made this known in open court when the hearing of an appeal filed by the suspended CJN resumed. Celestine Iria reports.
The former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoye, made his first appearance in court over the appeal he filed, challenging his suspension. The appeal, which was filed in 2019 by the former CJN, is challenging the ex parte order granted by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. He is also challenging the jurisdiction of the CCT and its refusal to be bound by the orders made by the Federal High Court and the National Industrial Court directing the tribunal to halt the trial. At the resumed sitting, Justice Onayen, through his counsel Chris Uche, moved the motion he filed on 9 July 2019, praying the court for an accelerated hearing of the appeal. Counsel to the AGF, Tijani Ghazali, informed the court that the AGF does not have the case file, as it was a private lawyer who was handling the case. He said that the lawyer Ali Umar, who was contracted to prosecute the case, died in 2020 and did not hand over the case file to the ministry. The AGF, however, wants an amicable solution to be reached by both parties. Justice John Offer, who led the three-member panel, granted an accelerated hearing in the matter and adjourned to 19 September.
No, the second arm was for the appeal to be heard on our own briefs alone, which means since the other party had not filed their brief of argument, we should now be allowed to argue our appeal based only on our brief. But given the overture for the government to look into this matter, we felt it was the most reasonable thing to afford them the opportunity. Unfortunately, the matter has just been adjourned to September 19, 2024 for either definite hearing or for report of settlement.
The adjournment will afford the AGF time to retrieve the case file from the chambers of the lawyer who handled the case and also reach an agreement with Justice Onoye. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.